I cry, and I cry a lot. I know that it is something that is not common to talk about, but I really wanted to talk about it today because I think this is a very important topic which very few people talk about. And it is showing emotions truly as they are. We as humans have a lot of different emotions. We have a huge range of emotions, from an absolute rage to being absolutely defenseless. And we have those emotions for a reason, because we need to experience this world in some way, one or another. And when we want to cry, it means we need to release something. And what does crying mean? Crying truly means releasing your emotions. And I believe that crying is very important. I believe this is one of the core methods to release all of the negativity in yourself. If you have something that is here, right here in your chest, you feel this anxiety that build up and you don't know what to do with it, I think the best way to get rid of it is to cry it out. Really, this is one of the easiest way to let it out. Just to cry it out, cry like it is the last day of you being on this earth. And you'll say maybe that it's really childish to cry. Crying this much is not healthy. But is it healthy to store it inside you? Let's look at the basic proportion: children and adults. We can see that children are much more emotional. They can throw tantrums. They can be really clueless of how their actions influence others. They can do whatever they want, but they release their emotions truly in the best ways possible. They use all their bodies, they shake, they cry, they yell, but later they are okay. And let's look at humans. We handle emotions differently. We store them inside, we overthink them, we try to find a logical solution to an issue which is just triggered by our self-defense mechanism, and we do not really know what to do with it. And we are taught to keep it inside us, to keep all of the emotions in. We're taught that crying makes us weak. We are taught that if you cry, you are childish. But let's be real. Crying is not childish. Crying means being human. When you cry, you just release all of your emotions. And when you release all of your emotions, you have space inside you, created literally this universe in you, which might feel like emptiness after crying, but it is actually place for all of the things that you need actually to get things done. By crying, you empty up space for positivity, for energy that you will need to do something. You free up space to do things. We are not robots. If we keep our emotions inside us, the space in us is not limitless. Our body has limits, and our emotions are not just mental, they're physical. If we have too much anxiety, what does it do to us? We have stomach problems. If we have too much stress, we have a lot of headaches or migraines. If we have other mental problems, they also lead to having physical problems. all of the time. If you ask any doctor, if you come to a doctor and have some problem, they often ask you, have you had any chronic stress recently that could have caused it? They do not ask it just to ask you a random question. They ask it because they need to know. And I think something that could prevent all of these issues is just letting it out. Letting out all of the negativity, letting out anything, letting it out in any way that you need. Whether it's crying, whether it's screaming into your pillow, whether it's beating up your pillow, or whatever else you need to do or already do but feel ashamed of it. Do not be ashamed of crying. It is not childish. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you any less than people who don't cry. Actually, you feeling deeply and being emotional is your strength, because our emotions, especially negative ones, are just a signal that something is a certain way. Emotional triggers. So when something triggers us negatively and we want to cry, it is a signal that something is wrong and we need to fix it. So instead of trying to push it down, try to let it out and then do something to solve this problem. Yes, crying will not entirely solve the problem that you have. Of course it will not. You still have to have the discipline to actually do something and solve it. But not crying will not solve the problem also, because even if you solve it logically and you solve it in your life, you still have the emotional buildup in you that you haven't released yet. And it builds up and builds up and builds up. And it creates resentment in yourself. Resentment towards yourself. You are not weak for crying. I will repeat it over and over again. People who don't show their emotions are not any stronger than people who do show their emotions. What makes you strong is being able to deal with what life throws at you, with being able to recognize the patterns which creates these emotional triggers and remove it from your life, and releasing all of the build-up emotions which you have inside you without hurting others. Because if you do build it up, then later you will release it in not the best ways possible, honestly, like having a huge argument with your family or friends and hurting them or insulting them, not because you want to, but because you have all of this anger and resentment built up in yourself in a clot of emotions that you haven't released, because you thought that it would make you any stronger. But by releasing the emotions, you become free from them, free from thoughts, free from overthinking, free from emotions. So actually, I believe that it is better to cry than just stocking it inside. Of course, I'm not a scientist or a researcher who can prove it, but talking from a personal experience, I believe that it is better to just cry it out and become free from it than stock it inside you and for it to cause some chronic issues. I have had the situations when I would stock my emotions inside because I didn't want to show other people how I feel in situations where I couldn't just cry in front of other people. And when I got home, I wouldn't cry either, because I thought, well, I'm home now, why would I cry? Why would I make the situation worse by crying now at home? I'll just go to sleep and pretend like nothing happened. And I would do that daily. Whenever something bad happened, when I was in public or in any other place, I wouldn't let it out because I felt ashamed of showing it to other people, and when I got home I wouldn't cry also because I felt ashamed in front of myself. And that built up and built up and built up. And later I was sick, and then sick again, one cold, then the flu, then stomach ache, then something else. I would get sick and sick again, and I wouldn't know what's wrong. I didn't realize what was wrong, but what was wrong, that I had this chronic stress and resentment inside because I didn't want to let the emotions out. And when I did finally cry it all out, let it all out, and I would do it not one day, not 2 days. I would cry a lot just to let it all out. And then I would analyze what caused these emotions, what situations was I in when I felt and built up this resentment. And that helped me find the clues of how to actually solve the issue. Then I did find the issue, or even several issues, and I decided to take some steps towards recovering from the causes of it. And I actually decided to cut the source to not get the result of it. And it helps, it always helps. So when the source of your stress, whether it's a job or a person or anything else, or some situation which you're in, and it causes you stress, self-doubt, resentment, anxiety, let out any emotions which you have at the moment. Let them out, all of them, all of them. Do not be ashamed of it. You do not have to cry in front of other people. You do not have to do it in front of others. But do not be ashamed to do it in front of yourself. You are the only person who you have the right to never be ashamed in front of. You never have to be ashamed in front of yourself. Love yourself enough to love yourself at any state that you are in, whether you're crying, breaking down, whether you're furious. Do not be ashamed of it. Show this emotion. Accept it to yourself first of all, and then to other people. It doesn't make you a bad person that you have emotions. Doesn't make you a bad person that you cry. Crying in front of other people is not a manipulation. It's just shows that you are upset. And if other person thinks that it's manipulation, it's their projection. Their projection of rather other people and experiences that they had, or their own projection of them manipulating other people by crying or showing other emotions. That means that this person is not capable of understanding you. But you need to take it in your own hands and let it out even when you're alone. You don't have to let it out onto other people necessarily, because sometimes it becomes a toxic pattern which you don't even realize. But you do have to let it out. You have to. I highly recommend it. If right now you feel this clock of emotions inside you which you cannot even recognize fully, which you don't know whether you want to cry, to yell, or just to sleep, I would recommend you to try and do something. Whether it's, if you can cry, cry. If you can yell, yell. If you can beat some pillow, beat the pillow. If you need to jump and shake your body, do that. Just do anything which will release the tension in you and the emotions. That is what I can recommend, and that will definitely help you. It might not help you from the start because you might have a lot of emotions inside you, but as you do it more and more, you will feel more free and free. So remember, I'll repeat it again, crying and showing any other emotions does not make you weak. Your emotional side is your strong side. It is what makes you unique. Because not all people feel so deeply. And you have to remember that. Remember, you are unique. And your emotions are not a bad thing. They're just a signal that something is wrong. And when you do fix the problems, you will feel better. But we as humans, we always have more and more problems, definitely. So we need to constantly deal with something. And we constantly have negative emotions. So do not feel ashamed to let them out. Let yourself be human. Just let yourself be. Do not judge yourself, at least. There are other people, tons of other people who will judge you. So do not judge yourself. Set yourself free. Thank you for watching. I'm really glad that you found me, and if you resonate with it, you can leave a comment or a like, and you could subscribe if it really helps. Let me know, and hopefully see you in the next videos. Bye bye.